Hey guys, Kristen Leak here. Welcome to my channel. It's really cool. I'm doing live from my computer this time, and it's a lot different than mobile, a lot more to it, but hopefully some people will come on this Sunday. Oh, hey, two people. Please say hi in the chat so I know you're here and you're watching. Just want to talk about my life after Coding Bootcamp, what I'm up to, and answer any questions that you guys may have about Coding Bootcamp, whether you're thinking about it, you have some uncertainties, having trouble picking or deciding what you want to study. So feel free to ask me questions whenever. But definitely say hey, because I don't want to feel like I'm talking to myself live. And how's the lighting, you guys? Let me know how it is. Is it too bright? I got a new setup, so I'm just messing around right now. So let me know if everything looks good too. Oh, getting more people on. Hey, how are you guys doing this Sunday? Doing anything fun? I didn't really do too much besides sleep in and get a little extra work done. And yeah, just trying to stay out of the heat. It's like in the 90s here in Charlotte. I'm not sure where you are from. Feel free to say. Oh, come on, guys. Well, if no one wants to talk, then I guess I'll just get started. So pretty much, if you don't already know, I went to a coding boot camp. I went to Tech Talent South in January of last year, 2016. And it was like a full stack, focusing on web apps with Ruby on Rails, HTML, CSS. And we also covered some JavaScript, jQuery, did some Google APIs, did all sorts of stuff. And I ended up just freelancing after coding boot camp instead of getting a job like most of my colleagues. And if anyone has any questions about job hunting after coding boot camp, I can definitely share my colleagues' stories. I am friends with many of them. Gosh, you know, at the end of coding boot camp, I was pretty tight with almost everybody in my cohort, and now I talk to maybe 4 on a regular basis, which I guess is still good. I would say my cohort was like maybe 12 people, 12, 15 people. Pretty good size. Some people were out of state. So if you are thinking of going to a coding boot camp out of state, I mean, it's definitely common. I actually thought about doing that. I thought about going to Chicago, but ended up changing my mind. And I have a video about that if you guys are curious. And yeah, so after coding bootcamp, I did freelance for about a year, a little over a year. I built websites for small businesses, nonprofits, and I really enjoyed it. And it was a lot at first, you guys, like starting your business, like doing all the paperwork for the LLC and like figuring out what your flow and strategy is going to be, figuring out how you want to promote your services to people. And honestly, what I've learned from that is it really just, gosh, once you get your first client, it really helps because that's when you get referrals. I find it really odd I'm not hearing from anyone. Let me see if something else is going on. Because last time I went live, you guys are super chatty. La da 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 da. What's going on? Live, you guys are super chatty. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I see it. Hi everyone. Oh my gosh. So I'm still figuring out how to use this. So I'm on Google Hangouts right now and I have to go back to YouTube. Dylan, if you're still on here, like explain this to me. I'm so confused. But Okay, I'm going to scroll up. I knew you guys are talking to me, so let's see. Hey to James Scott, what's up? Yeah, Dylan, moving on up. Jason Butwell, hi from the UK. Oh, that's so cool. Isn't it almost late right now? It's like 11 p.m. or something over there. You're up late. Hey from New York, Mohammed. Cool, thanks. Thanks for the compliment, my channel. James Scott says, I'm looking for a coding boot camp myself and interested in the idea. Yeah, you should definitely check it out. There's so many different types of coding boot camps. There's so many options. So you just need to figure out what your focus is and what your career goals are. Okay, Nicole Maxwell. Hey, I hope DC is a lot cooler than it is here. Watching while cleaning. I love your multitasking. Smart woman. What are my thoughts on online boot camps like Lambda School, says AK47 Eva. Yeah, so online boot camps are very beneficial. I have a video on that as well. You should check it out. I talk about, what's that boot camp? I consider it an online boot camp. I can't remember what they're called, but I mentioned them in the video. Gosh, it's gonna bug me. Anyway, so yeah, it depends on your personality. Me personally, I don't do well with online stuff unless I already have a strong foundation in it and huge motivation, because for me, I could get completely lost when it came to like intermediate types of coding, and I just really needed that push. I needed a teacher for accountability. I wanted to get help from other people, which is where my colleagues came into play, and we actually got together on weekends to do homework and projects, so that was very beneficial. But you know, there are plenty of online boot camps that have forums where you can ask questions and talk to other people taking it with you. They do have quizzes and stuff. I know Treehouse has quizzes at the end, which is pretty cool. I did that for their iOS online course, which was actually really enjoyable. They have a really good iOS teacher, by the way, so if that's something you're considering, check it out at Treehouse. Okay, I have to go back to YouTube. I'm gonna see if Dylan, okay, cool, Dylan, you messaged me back. Go to the live stream section of your channel. There should be like a headquarters thing for it. Headquarters, okay. Oh man, trial and error, gotta love it, you guys. Live stream section of my channel. Okay, give me a second, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm still learning how to do live stream. I'm so late. So I guess I will click, I guess I'm going back to the dashboard, Dylan. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. Sorry, guys. You're just gonna have to stare at me for a minute. I see get started. I'm already started, right? Wait a minute, did I find it? No, this isn't it. Okay, I'm just gonna have to figure this out later. Okay, I'm gonna try to go back to where I was. Oh wait, I think I saw it. I gotta go back. No, that's not it. Okay. Oh, is this it? Yes, yes. I found it. Cool. Okay, I found you guys chatting. Let's see. So, oh yeah, I was talking about my thoughts on online boot camps. But yeah, they're definitely beneficial if you are someone who is self-motivated and you don't need you don't need any accountability from a teacher or help from colleagues. And it is tough where you will need help, but like I said, they have forums. Many of them have mentors that you chat with one-on-one through a video chat or however they have it organized. Dylan asked me, any regrets about the boot camp? Honestly, I don't regret the boot camp because it definitely helped my career. I do feel like I wish I went with my first instinct. Like I mentioned that I was thinking about going to Chicago for this boot camp, and that boot camp was mostly design based and it had coding in it, but it was more design, using more design tools in the Chicago boot camp. And since I'm now doing UI UX design, that shows that my gut feeling was correct. But either way, I'm just glad I did it because that put my, got my foot in the door. And you know what? If I did go to school in Chicago, I probably would have stayed there because what I've learned is boot camps have relationships with companies in the cities that you are in. And so because I stayed in Charlotte and I wanted to stay in Charlotte, I was able to find lots of opportunities, whether it was with freelancing or my current internship. Like that was all with the help of my boot camp and the amazing community that they have created through it. So it's not really a black and white answer. That's a really good question. Oh, cool, Dylan. Which boot camp is she looking into going to? Is it an in-person one or online one? Biolay says, hey, Kristen, I recently found your channel, so you might have addressed this before. How'd you get interested in UX and UI? So the interesting about UX and UI, for those who don't know, UX stands for user experience, UI stands for user interface. So whatever you see on a website or software, the layout, the design, that's the UI, the interface. And so I really didn't know that that type of design existed. I really got into how a website looked when I was doing freelance. So I started off doing templates that were HTML, CSS, JavaScript based, and a little bit of PHP for, the contact form and such. And I just liked designing an interface and thinking about the users. And I learned about these books like Don't Make Me Think, which talks about designing for your users and how other people will use your products or your website. And I just became really interested in it. And after, what was it, like after a year, I was looking into dev jobs. And then that's how I don't know how, but somehow on the internet, maybe a video, I learned about UX and was like, whoa, that's pretty freaking cool. So I just decided to research that more and decided to look for more UX jobs and found my internship. So that's where my interest started. I think I've always had an interest for it. Yeah, I've always had an interest for it, but you know what? It kind of goes hand in hand with coding as well because there is coding and there's also UX developers as well if you wanted to do more of the front end type. Let's see. Live control. Oh, live control room. Dylan. Okay. So the boot camp, Dylan, will be in person. Cool. Nice. I think she should do it. One thing about boot camp, like when it was all over, I was so relieved it was over. So I did Tech Talent South and it was 8 weeks. And when I first signed up, I was like, oh, it's only 8 weeks. Is that really long enough? Am I going to get enough out of it? And holy crap, like they really push you. You absolutely fly through information. So mostly focus on the content you're going to cover and just, I definitely recommend meeting the teacher before to know whether or not it's a good fit for you. So I initially wanted a 3 to 6 week boot camp, but I was almost burnt out after 8 weeks. So don't knock a boot camp because of the length. Always, always base that off of the curriculum. And an advice I would give your girlfriend, Dylan, is to meet the teacher in person, find out what their background is. I was trying to decide between the Iron Yard and Tech Talent South, and I'm going Tech Talent South because their teacher was more experienced. My cohort was his third or fourth cohort, and so I knew he knew how to educate code newbies, knew the questions that we would ask and our thought process. And at the Iron Yard, the teacher had a master's in computer science from UC Berkeley, and he was fresh out of school. And I asked him if he taught any classes, and he said that he taught one class for his graduate course, which is cool. Obviously, he's really smart, but teaching and knowing the material is way, way, way different. So definitely talk to the teachers, learn what their teaching style is, and obviously have an understanding of what your learning style is to make sure it's a good fit. Oh gosh, I'm so behind. Sorry if I skipped your question. Let's see. Hey, Elle. Cool, you're a new subby. Hey, welcome to my channel. Thanks for subscribing. Can this be done from home? You mean coding bootcamp? I'm guessing you mean coding bootcamp from home. Yeah, there's lots of online courses. I'm drawing a blank right now. I used to know so many at the top of my head. But regular online stuff, there's Code Academy and free Code Camp and Treehouse and Thinkful, I believe. But there's really a ton of other online ones. Have you thought of doing a daily UI challenge? I've tried daily UI challenge like twice. I was gonna try it a third time. So the first time, I didn't really know it was UI. I did it straight out of coding bootcamp, so over a year ago, and I just didn't get it because I didn't know what UI was at the time. I just thought it was front-end related stuff. And then second time, I did 3 or 4 days of it, and it got really tricky. After, I think the 5th day, 4th or 5th day is the calculator, and after that, it got really technical. So I do want to give it a shot now that I'm more experienced, because they have some really cool prompts, and it's awesome seeing people put stuff on Dribble. Really inspiring. Let's see. Any reason you didn't move to New York City or California to attend the boot camp and secure higher salaries? Jason Levine. Oh, it's funny. There was one in my cohort with their last name, Jason, so it's kind of funny. I did a double take there. So I did not move to New York City or California because it's really expensive. That's why the salaries are higher to compensate for the high cost of living. I actually lived in California for 2 years for grad school. So I lived in San Jose and Silicon Valley, and really, really expensive. And I know it's especially competitive out there, and more people are getting CS degrees out there, and honestly, I didn't want to deal with that type of competition. I have considered moving back to California once I have stronger experience and can compete with the other applicants. So it's a possibility, but just because they have higher salaries does not mean it's beneficial, because they also have a higher living expenses. Amu Casa says, did you have to study data structures and algorithms for interviews? So I am mostly interested in front-end / UI design stuff. So no, I didn't have to go over any algorithms. I don't know anything really about data structures besides the bare basics. So if you're more in the back end, yeah, you will have to know that. I do, yes, I do have two friends from my cohort who did get some algorithm questions. They work at a PHP-based startup, and it's mostly, actually, I couldn't tell you what they do. I just know they focus on PHP and occasionally some JavaScript on the back end, and that is really important for those types of jobs. Oh, that's what's up, Damien. Hey from South America. Happiness everywhere. Hey there, it's Chastity D from Atlanta. Would it be best to focus on front end for boot camp first or jump into full stack right away to get the most out of boot camp? Would it be best to focus on front end or jump in the full stack? If you ultimately want to be full stack, I would just start studying both sides. I mean, I can't really answer this question because I'm not a full stack developer. Dylan, if he's on here, he has a channel called Coding Tutorials 360. You should check it out. He's a full stack developer and could definitely answer that question and may even have some videos on it. But my personal opinion is if you ultimately want to be full stack, then just start working towards that goal. Don't limit yourself just because you're worried about how hard it's going to be or how long it's going to take. Oh, hey, Kevin Davis. Can you begin learning Swift with a Mac Mini? He says. I don't know. I don't really understand the question. Yeah, sorry, Kevin, I don't understand your question. I learned some Swift with the program Hacking Swift. I actually interviewed the creator of Hacking with Swift, and it's an amazing ebook and lots of resources where you do self-study and then you build a project and self-study, build a project. And he has tons of really good information. And I'm not really a person who can read about code, but his product was just in layman terms and even had jokes in it here and there. It's such a cool product, but I realized I wasn't really interested in building iOS stuff, so I ended up moving from that. But I highly recommend Hacking with Swift. They have a ton of products, by the way. So if you want to learn how to build iOS watch stuff and all the fancy iPhone and Apple products, definitely look at what he has. Let's see here. Hey, Yael Brown. Wow, we have someone from Ghana. Hey. Biole says, oh, cool. I'm interning as a UI designer, but I definitely am more interested in UX design, I think. Oh, that's super cool. You know, a lot of it goes hand in hand, and honestly, when you look at job ads, they overlap a lot. So you definitely have opportunity after your internship to pursue that too. James Scott says, how was the transition from boot camp to freelance? It was terrifying and it wasn't easy. So the hardest part is figuring out how you want to get things done. And what I recommend to anyone who wants to start freelancing, whether or not you are doing a boot camp first or doing self-study first or whatever, I recommend getting a mentor. I had 2 mentors, and it was so helpful because I knew that if I could not execute something for a client, I had someone I could call to ask for help. And that just made things a lot less stressful. It made things a lot less scary. And how I got these mentors, it's kind of funny. I got one from my childhood friend's brother. He has been a WordPress developer for over a decade, maybe 20 years now. And then my other mentor is a IT professional who has done business with my dad. So that was like a family connection, family and friend connection for these mentors. And then eventually I just got to where I just found mentors on my own through networking. But yeah, freelancing, it was actually a little bit different than what I've learned at Coding Bootcamp. It was helpful for fixing a lot of bugs and such, but over time I got away from the HTML and JavaScript based templates because, you know, your client wants you to finish things as fast as possible. And so how do you do things fast as possible? You find efficient ways. And the efficient way I found was to just do WordPress. And so I started doing lots of WordPress websites. I still do WordPress websites. I also do Squarespace as well. And you can go in the back end and code when you need to customize it a bit more, or if it gets buggy or there's a plugin that hasn't been updated and it's acting super weird. It's very helpful to learn to know code for that, and that's when I use those skills. But yeah, it was a different world, and learning about sales and how to communicate with clients. And there were times when I was so stressed out, I actually contracted some of my colleagues from boot camp to help me finish projects. I still kind of do that, to where if a client needs help with something that I can't seem to fix myself, I will pay my friend to fix a certain part of something if they can figure it out. So the extra help, the teamwork is so beneficial in freelancing, especially as a newbie. Got some more questions. Okay. How's your transition? So someone asked, what software do you use for designing? Sketch, Photoshop. So right now I'm using Illustrator a ton, and I'm switching to Sketch, which has been really hard because I like Adobe XD because the learning curve isn't, you know, as steep, but my company is not a big fan of Adobe XD and you want to get away from it. So I'm forcing myself to just mostly use Sketch and InVision for prototyping. But I am fond of Illustrator. Like, at first I was really stuck on Photoshop, and then I spent an entire weekend just designing projects from YouTube tutorials using Illustrator, and now I like it way more. I even make some of my YouTube thumbnails from Illustrator, getting a little attached. What particular technique / daily routine has helped you stay on top of issues, bridging the knowledge gap? Sorry, I have to reread this again. What particular technique, daily routine has helped you stay on top of issues? Oh, okay. I'd say consistency. Consistency has helped a ton. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to specialize in, I would wake up early each morning. So for instance, beginning of this year, I thought I wanted to be an iOS developer. So I had the program Hacking with Swift. I got up every morning, and for an hour, I would go through Hacking with Swift. And yeah, and just try to build projects with that one course. And again, I stuck with Hacking with Swift. Whenever I would get, whenever I'd complete a project, I would stop and then go to Treehouse, and I finished one of their courses. But I always stuck with those two things, and it wasn't spontaneous decisions. Like, I had to clear cutoff points where I would finish a project with Hacking with Swift, and then there was a section in Treehouse about iOS that I wanted to learn. And oftentimes when we are learning things, we go to every single type of resource that's available, and you don't want to do that because you aren't going to get the most out of it, because every course has a process. The way they educate you is in a particular way. There's a reason why they are doing it the way they're doing it. And if you're jumping around, you're not going to get the most out of it. So that is definitely something that's helpful. Oh, I lost my spot. Where was I? Okay, I see. Succinct. Hi, Kristen. I was thinking of taking a UX immersive course at GA, but I've recently started learning HTML5, CSS, so Fiverr Treehouse. Oh, cool. You should still do the UX immersive course if that is something you're interested in. A lot of UXers have a basic understanding of HTML, CSS, which is really helpful. And also, if you want to get further in the code, it's so helpful to be able to communicate with developers. For instance, I recently gave a presentation at my job about how to improve user experience using UI animation. And I asked a couple of the UX developers to join us. And during that presentation, when I talked about ways to execute it, I talked to them about the different JavaScript libraries and also just trying to think. So having the developers there, like they asked me questions about what I was explaining, and I had to reword things. And getting them to visually see and understand what our goals were, and then getting feedback from them and hearing the way they interpreted it and the questions that they had about it is really helpful. And when you have an understanding of JavaScript, you can, in HTML and CSS, it's even easier to communicate with them. So you're working as a team, and being able to code and taking that UX course is going to be so helpful if that's the route you want to take. I mean, if you decide that you want to go just into front-end development, then I'm not going to stop you. Like, definitely pivot. Nothing's wrong with pivoting. Nothing's wrong with changing your mind. And for those who have been on here for a while, you know that I've switched a few times, figuring out what exactly I want to specialize in before I found the best fit. Okay. I'm going to do one more question, and I want to get some water. I'm thirsty. Oh, Succinct also said, I'm reading more about programs like Sketch and Adobe, but I'm not fully familiar. Any advice on new corners interested into the field of front end and UX? I don't know software well. So when it comes to software for designing, whether it's UX, UI design, or just graphic or visual design, oftentimes it's either what your company is using as a team. Some companies like to use exclusively one or two types of software. My company, it's mostly, as long as it's not Adobe XD, they don't care. Everyone has a software that they prefer because they're comfortable with it. And I've talked to senior UX developers, and they've said that causes problems down the road because everyone's using different software, so converting it for the front-end developers just makes it really tricky. But depending on that environment, I would say if you're learning, find something that you're comfortable with. Definitely try out a couple. Like I said before, I started with Photoshop, and now I like Illustrator way more. I like XD, but I'm switching to Sketch because my job isn't happy with XD. So just try out different types, and you'll get a feel for it. And a lot of them are similar across the platforms. Okay, guys, I'm gonna run and get something to drink. I'm really thirsty. So please, if you have any more questions, put them in the chat. While I'm gone for a couple minutes, type in what your goals are. I'd love to know what you're working on. I'd love to know what your career goals are, or at least don't go. I'll be right back, Patrick. I'll be right back. So just type in your goals while I'm gone, things you're trying to accomplish, maybe even some fears you may have, some, or so forth. Trap King. Yeah, I'll be back. Okay, so like 2 minutes, you guys, 2 minutes. Okay, guys. Let me catch up with you. I told you I wouldn't be long, right? So, let me see what I got here. Damien asked a question about being too much of a newbie. First, Damien, I want to know, how much code do you know? Like, you say you're just getting into coding HTML, CSS, and JS. Do you have the foundation down, or is it just the bare bones? And what are you using to study? That would give me a better idea to help you figure out if you need to learn more before doing the boot camp. Your BLA says 1,000% recommend Sketch, but maybe that's because I'm completely unfamiliar with Adobe packages. No, I mean, I hear great things about Sketch, and there's tons of plugins for it and other types of software. I recently heard about, I think it's Craft. Is it Craft? That lets you prototype in Adobe? In Adobe. I meant in Sketch. I feel like when my lights are blinking, so it's kind of like bothering me. 888 says, did you finish an online course and get a certificate? Team Treehouse or Free Code Camp, maybe? No, 888. I went to Tech Talent South, so I did not do an online course, and they do not have a certificate. I know now there are boot camps through universities that give a certificate. So like UNC Charlotte offers a boot camp now, and you get a certificate. Let's see. Would you ever move to Austin to be a developer? Funny, I am actually looking into Austin at the moment. Yale Brown. Why, do you live in Austin? Yeah, Austin seems like they have a huge tech scene. But it all depends. Like, if I end up getting a job in Charlotte immediately, I obviously will stay in Charlotte, but yeah, it's something I've thought about. Advanced foundation is that a thing? I'm majoring. Oh, Udemy is good. Actually, my UX instructor has a Udemy course. So there's really good instructors on there. Boot camp. So it all depends on type of boot camp. My boot camp was 8 weeks. There are some boot camps that are 12 weeks, like the Iron Yard. And there are many boot camps that are like 6 months. I know the one at UNC Charlotte is 6 months. There's a ton like on the West Coast that are 6 months. I can't remember. There's a school that's just for women to, you know, put more female developers in the industry. And theirs is about 6 months, if not longer. Yale Brown says, no, I'm stationed in Jacksonville, but from Baltimore, I've been reading about its growing tech scene and low cost of living. I know, right? It sounds nice. For me, Austin is about the same as Charlotte, but as far as cost of living, but yeah, the opportunity there is amazing, and so many people are going there. And I heard Nashville too. Not as big as Austin, but Nashville is growing and it's developing a little tech scene too. It's pretty cool. Yes, thank you, Ashley Christine. Yes, Grace Hopper Academy. That's what I'm thinking of. I think that's such a cool idea. I wish I knew about that sooner. Patrick Black says, I live in Washington State. It's nice, but way too expensive. Oh, that's a bummer. I just saw a job listing for a UX designer at Microsoft in Washington, and a couple of my friends moved out there. So I was like, could be a possibility. But that is a concern. How's the weather there right now, by the way, Patrick? How's Washington in June? Chris Wiley says, in NC, Raleigh, and Charlotte are the big tech scene here. Austin, if you live in Texas. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Raleigh and Charlotte's where it's at for tech jobs. A lot of opportunities. And Raleigh's pretty freaking cool, actually. When I was in a band, we toured and went to Raleigh twice, maybe just one time. I can't remember. But it was a really cool city. It had a lot more than I thought. Me personally, if a city has lots of juice bars and like new age stores and really cool music venues, that's my kind of place. Oh, I live in New Bern. I have a friend who lives out there in New Bern. It looks beautiful. She's always showing me Snapchats and stuff from it. How's the tech scene in New Bern? I'm really curious about that. Ashley Christine says, and you don't have to pay the full tuition to get a job. Yeah, that's a huge seller. And a few other coding boot camps do that too. And some even give up women, veterans, teachers, and people of color scholarships for going to boot camps. And what I've noticed is not many of them actually promote that. So if you are considering a boot camp, ask them if they have any scholarships. Patrick says too hot. It's like 85 right now. Yeah, it's about how it is here. Sometimes it gets up to low 90s. I bet Austin's even hotter. Succinct says, would you ever try international opportunities, even Canada? Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to go to Vancouver. I would love to go to Vancouver. Oh, hang on. Sorry, guys. Okay. Would you? So yeah, Vancouver. I really want to visit Vancouver. Chris Wiley says the birthplace of Pepsi. It's so small. Is it? New Bern's where Pepsi was created? I did not know that. Don't laugh at me, Patrick. The joys of living at home with your parents. Do you ever get bored of coding or UX? Right now, no. No, I don't. Coding, I don't know. It's not really boredom. It's more like, okay, let me put it this way. When you are new to this industry and you're learning how to code, we don't realize is that when you actually get a job doing it, that means there are going to be days when you're stuck on the same project or something's just going to be super difficult. It's going to take you much longer to figure it out. And it's really frustrating. And I have one friend who stopped being a developer because he just couldn't take it. There would be an entire week to be working on the same bug, trying to fix it. And it just drove him crazy. But you know, when you do fix the bug, when you do fix what's broken, it's like euphoria. It's the best feeling ever. So it's not really that coding gets boring. It's just mentally it's completely different than UX design. Yeah, debugging's a pain in the butt. But it's also satisfying in a really strange way. Ashley Christine asks, what concept was hardest for you to grasp at the boot camp? Oh, I don't know. I almost forgot, but how could I forget? So my boot camp focused on web apps, and to build web apps, we did a lot with Ruby on Rails. And when you do when you do Ruby on Rails, gosh, I'm trying to think of how to word it. So Ruby on Rails, there's this thing called MVC, which is models, views, and controllers. And for some reason, I could not understand models. And I easily understood views because that's pretty much the HTML, CSS. It's what you see. It's the pretty stuff that you see. But just fully understanding when to use models, it just was beyond me. And I kept trying to figure it out. And I actually did a couple of tutorials on Mackenzie Child's YouTube channel. And I remember the second tutorial of his that I did, it just like, it was like a light bulb. And I was thinking, how on earth did I not understand this? Jason Butwell says, model is all about data mapping for database integration. Yes, that's true. But as a newbie and hearing that definition, it's like, okay, yes, that's a definition, but really, what does that mean? So there are some concepts that are just really difficult to click as a newbie. You can understand a definition, but not fully understand what it means. Chris Wiley says, MVC seems to be different from company to company and framework to framework. Yeah, that could be true. I haven't really worked with many other frameworks. So what are you referring to, Chris? Are you referring to React or Node or something else? Yale Brown says, I like Mackenzie Chowdy. He's really good. I used to watch him in Dev Tips. Oh, I know, right? Isn't it so sad how Travis from Dev Tips is taking a hiatus? Gosh, I was just really getting into his channel, but occasionally he will post a video here and there, but not often. Okay. Chris Wiley says, I think Rails and Node are different. That could be so. I haven't touched Node, and just the fact that it's JS, I can see being different. Oh, I see what you're saying, Chris. Gotcha. Mohammed says, yeah, online definitions are ridiculous. Yeah. But it's ridiculous depending on your experience level. Let's see. Did I skip over anybody? I don't mean to ever skip over anybody, so I apologize in advance. Oh, yeah, Ashley. Yeah, he is so cool. I really aim to one day have a video set up like his. Gosh, his videos are always crisp, clean, clear. And I just got these new lights, and I'm trying to figure out the best, lighting for it and how to get it to look a lot better. Computer terms change as much as definitions on Urban Dictionary. It's amazing how long Urban Dictionary is still popular. It just blows my mind. I remember using that in high school, and I still refer back to it occasionally for kicks and giggles. Oh, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really hoping to get a new mic in the next month, so my audio is going to be a lot better. Baby steps, baby steps. Okay. Let me I still need to find that thing that Dylan mentioned to me. Oh, live control room. Is this it? I'm just clicking around, guys. Don't mind me. It says I am in the control room. Huh. Gosh, there really is a learning curve to live stream. I have seen other YouTubers a while ago do a live stream late at night and just mess around with it because they're trying to learn. So it's kind of a good idea, but I really enjoyed talking to all of you. So thanks for taking time out of your Sunday to chit chat. Thanks for all the compliments, you guys. Patrick, thanks. I'm actually using the mic out of my computer, and in my other videos that are not live, I use the mic out of my camera, my Canon. But you know, you don't really know the difference until you hear it, so I'm super excited about it. Jason says, there's also too many technical acronyms out there, LOL. Gosh, yeah. So what was a doozy on my first week of my internship is so many people use acronyms, and they just immediately started putting me into meetings. And so I had no idea what they were talking about initially. And they would just use all these acronyms, TPI, EPR, and use words like writer. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. So I would just jot down in my notebook words. And then once I got back to my desk, I would ask my teammates like what things were. And then I would make a note about the definition and just refer back to it. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Ashley. Patrick says, my issues with coding used to be learning the syntax. I just couldn't grasp it. I skipped, you skipped church to watch my stream. No wonder you didn't want me to go when I wanted to get some water. Oh, gosh. So syntax, yeah, that's the tricky thing, especially when you're going back and forth between languages, and when you're learning languages, that can definitely throw you off. But then, you know, it's kind of funny if something breaks and you look back at it and it's like, why isn't it working? You work on it for 30 minutes and then you have someone else look at your code and they just tell you, oh, you put a semicolon here. You don't need to use a semicolon for this language. And it's like, oh, I've been working in JavaScript for so much. That's why I use a semicolon. So yeah, syntax is funny. Chris Wiley says, Chris Coiler did a podcast on podcasting recently. Who is this, Chris? Who did the podcast? What's his podcast called? Jason says, I have issues jumping between languages sometimes, gets confusing. Jumping between, say, Java and PHP. Also trying to do Python after Java. Yeah, I don't do any of those languages. I can read PHP, but yeah, I don't know it very deeply. But yeah, jumping from any language is tricky. Clark says, Mackenzie Child's channel is a good recommendation. Thank you. Yes, I love his channel. So about Mackenzie, for those who don't know, and obviously need to check him out, but he started off doing a Ruby on Rails challenge and doing a bunch of web apps and tutorials for coding. And then he went back to design. So he's a product designer slash illustrator, and so he mostly does design today, but he has a lot of really good coding tutorials. He helped me understand what MVC is. So if you're doing Ruby on Rails and don't understand what a model or controller is, he is so clear. Like, he is such a good teacher. And plus, his video editing style is so good. It's so inspiring. So Raymond asks, do companies look at you any less compared to someone with a college degree? This really depends. So I intentionally do not apply to corporate places. Not only do I not want to work in corporate or fintech type of environments, but the corporate tech environment is more traditional, and so they are looking for the traditional degrees. However, startups don't really care. They want to see your portfolio. They want to see your passion. They want to make sure you are a cultural fit. In my company, many people refer to them as a startup, but we've grown so much, have been around for over a decade. And we were recently bought by Aflac at the end of last year. So I don't really, technically we aren't really a startup, but we are a startup. It's that, yeah, confusing thing about it. But with them, I actually had the head of the department tell me that cultural fit is really important for them. And if someone doesn't know enough for the position, as long as that person is able to learn and can take constructive criticism and use it towards improving their craft, that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. So it all depends on who you're applying to. I'm not sure about places like Microsoft. I know Google is in that way. My cousin actually, gosh, I need to talk to him. My cousin actually moved to Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, right after I left. Can you believe that? He was in San Diego. And after I left, he moved to the Bay Area. And he got a gig at Google. And he does not have a CS background or what have you. Oh, Chris Wiley. Okay. CSS tricks. Yeah, I'm very familiar. A DoorDash. How do I start coding? So many different ways, so many free resources. I personally went on Code Academy and used their free coding tutorials. And if I liked that, I would either, I would purchase a subscription. They did not have a subscription when I was learning to code, I guess 2 years ago when I was starting to teach myself. But now they do, and it's totally worth it. So you just have to make the investment, take the time. It's really helpful to block off certain days and times to start coding so you can be consistent. So when I was learning 2 years ago, I was working full-time at a nonprofit, and I woke up every morning, not every morning, 3 days out of the week, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I would do coding tutorials for an hour. And then I would go to the gym, make my breakfast, and go to work. So you just need to block off time. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m. You can actually do it after work, or if you're not working full time, that's even better. But I personally like to stay consistent with things that I really want to learn by studying it in the morning because there are no distractions. I know I would initially try to learn how to code after work, and things always come up. Like I had a boyfriend at the time, and he would randomly get free tickets to a concert, or people want to hang out after work, and it's just like really good opportunities I didn't want to miss out. So studying in the morning was just less distracting than studying in the evening. Patrick Black says, what IDE does your company use? Oh, Patrick, we just talked about acronyms. What do you mean by IDE? IDE does your company use? I guess I can look that up. Let me look it up real quick. Oh, binary? You mean binary stuff? Integrated development back. Okay, development environment. Gotcha. I understand, because I know what that word is, or those words are. Where? Okay. So I don't do any of the coding. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of the other intern on my team. So he is our UX developer. I believe I saw him using Atom for the text editor, and they have him working on some Node.js stuff right now. They are strongly considering switching, moving over to Node. But remember, my team is a creative team, so we are mostly front end and UX, UI, JavaScript heavy. And then we have our infrastructure department, which is a huge department, by the way. And they are mostly Java. And then we have some Perl developers here and there for our legacy. But mostly we are a Java shop and front end JavaScript with maybe Node. That's all I know. That's all I know. So there's probably most likely gaps in that. But again, I did a psychology around everything. I did a usability testing and why we should put buttons at the bottom instead of at the top, and why we should use certain colors, and should we have animation, and who are our users going to be? What is the goal? What do we want to communicate to the users? What do we want the users to do? And how will this help the business? Ashley says, I like Atom, it's pretty cool. That's really neat to hear. I've been meaning to download Atom to check it out. I last was using Sublime, and I'm starting to have a lot of friends move from Sublime to Atom. Chris says most popular code editors right now is VS Code, Atom, and Sublime Text. Yep, I use Sublime Text, Text 3. Well, I guess I say I use it, but it's been a while since I have. So the coding I've done recently has all been in JavaScript, not JavaScript, in WordPress. I haven't really been using a text editor in a while now. How long has it been? I think it was sometime in the winter because I was tweaking my portfolio. Notepad++, really? I haven't heard anyone use that. Oh, it's fast? Dang, so I've been missing out. Patrick says, do you guys know anyone who uses Visual Studio? I don't think I do. If someone does, they'll let you know. So Zinc says, Sublime is awesome. Yeah, I like Sublime. Jason says, I use Android Studio for Java and Android apps. Cool, cool. Okay, Cole Maxwell, I second VS Code, Sublime, and Atom. If anyone needs free goodies for development, check out Microsoft Visual. So how many of you guys on here have a Mac computer, and how many have or are using a PC? Oh, I used PHP Storm for a hot minute. Oh, cool, Patrick, you have both. It's like you're ambidextrous. Oh, you too, Yale Brown. Oh, wow, Windows and Linux. That's pretty cool, Jason. Chris used Windows 10. Macaroni, Patrick. Kevin PC. I like macaroni. I like apples. I have a MacBook Pro. I've had a Mac since a while. Gosh, I've had a Mac since 2004, 2005. It's been a while. Oh my gosh, that's like over a decade. Am I showing my age? Oh my goodness. I feel like time is going by so fast. Like once you finish high school, it just blows by. No, I didn't have one of the white ones. I think I had I had the first or second MacBook Pro. You have a 15-inch. I really do think bigger is better. I wish I could get a 17-inch laptop. That would be cool. Patrick, you're 98. Solving programming problems ages you prematurely. Thanks. It's working out well then, huh? Jason. When did I graduate high school? I graduated high school in 2005. 2005. Did not even go to my 10-year anniversary or 10-year reunion. It's kind of like I'm already talking to the people that I want to talk to. Oh, okay. I see how it is, Jason. Oh, cool. Oh, 06, oh, 05. Woo, woo. Go us. Greg says, have you signed up for any online courses like Egghead? I've never heard of Egghead. That's so interesting. You know, someone actually contacted me from Firehose. Firehose? Yeah, Firehose. So if you're still shopping for boot camps, check them out. Oh no. Don't say you're too old. Come on. I was born in the same year the internet was born. That's pretty cool though. That's pretty cool. I remember being one of those kids on the internet who would always be in the what was it, the AOL chat rooms and stuff, and I'd talk about it to my friends who weren't really on the internet. It's kind of weird how that was back then, kind of like with texting. I had a friend who was texting all the time, and I didn't understand it, so I didn't really like talking to him. It just seemed weird. Texting seemed weird, and looking back, I can see how people thought internet was weird back then. Yeah, AOL, the dial-up days. I still remember that fuzzy sound, you know, when it's loading. Then it goes, "You've got mail." Jason says, I used to program the Commodore Amiga and the assembler in the 90s. Whoa. Okay, now I see where you're going with your joke. Have you ever deployed an app? I've deployed a web app. I don't know if you're talking to me, Julian. But in Coding Bootcamp, we were in teams for our final project. And my team decided to build an app that would have the schedule for the light rail in my area. And also will show your location and how close you were to the light rail stop. And then we had to deploy that, which was the hardest thing ever. We tried to use Heroku, and it was a nightmare. Maybe Heroku's better now because that was last year, and we were using the free version of Heroku, and you know what they say, like, you get what you pay for, so I don't know. Okay, cool, Julian, then I answered your question. Chris says, I remember the Amiga. I had Haley's comment on it and used to sing All You Need Is an Amiga. Dang, I wish I knew. I just don't. Andy says no, Heroku still sucks. What have you tried to deploy, Andy? Did you try it multiple times, or was it just a one and done and never want to look at it again sort of thing? Jason says, Heroku, the king of nightmares, I've heard. Okay, good. So then it wasn't user error, because I was really concerned it was user error. Let me see how long we've been going. I need to figure out how to use this. Oh, here's the control. Wait. Hopefully I don't lose you guys. Control room. I don't know, but it's getting later. I can tell because it's getting darker in my room. Let me go over. Okay. Gosh, I need to figure out how to use this better. So I really appreciate you guys, your patience. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave in a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. Wow, Chris, really? I remember making my first website. My first website was with Angel Fire, and it was the coolest thing ever. And now that I think about it, it was janky. Oh, don't be sad, Patrick. I will be back. Julian asked, what's the name of the coding bootcamp you attended? It's Tech Talent South, so South's in the name, so they're located in the Southeast. So Texas, North Carolina, Georgia, I think Florida, and some other states. I want to say New Orleans. They're in New Orleans too, which isn't a state, but you know what I mean. Oh, Ian, I'm sorry. You just missed out. It's getting so dark in my room, and I'm pretty sure. Wait, are my lights bright? Okay, yeah, my lights are like as bright as possible, and I'm just in a bad room right now for this, so I think it's best that I have to cut it. So if you have any questions, please ask now before I leave. Sorry, Ian. You missed out on a lot of fun chats. Not to make you feel bad. Chris says, I used to find files using Archie and Veronica. That sounds really cool, but I'm not sure how that works. Greg asked, what about a online boot camp? Okay, cool. So I have a video where I talk about online boot camps. At the moment, I cannot tell you the names, but depending on how you learn, it can be beneficial or it can hurt you. So if you are a self-starter, if you do not need the accountability of an instructor, then this is great. If you're the type of person who can figure out things on your own and you're assertive and you will use the forum or the help of a mentor that they will provide to you, power to you. Me, no, not so much. I need someone to tell me, be in class at this time on these days. And I need someone to answer all my tiny little questions. So it's all up to how you learn. Chris says, and fetch them off with the Gopher server. Use Vim. Patrick asked, what got you interested in coding? It was kind of like a loop, like one of those things where coding was introduced to me a ton of times in my life. So in middle school, I took a class on coding. I learned HTML. And then fast forward 3 or 4 years, there was LiveJournal and Zanga. If you know what I'm talking about, they're online journals way before blogging was even called blogging. And you would have to use HTML to make the front end of your journal look really freaking cool. So I would stay up all night, multiple times during the summer, making my live journal look so freaking cool. And I had no idea that was actually coding, or at least a form of it. So I've been introduced that way. And then I went to grad school, and I went to grad school in Silicon Valley. And even though I studied mass communication and journalism, they incorporated design and WordPress and coding in some of the classes. So I just kept coming back. And I remember when I started doing WordPress development on the side for extra money, and I was thinking, why don't I just try doing this? You know, this is pretty cool. I am pretty decent at it at the moment, so why don't I try doing this? So that's why I pursued Coding Bootcamp. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, this was fun. I'm going to do more, and I'm going to get better. I'm going to figure out where the live room is so I can properly see everyone talking. Definitely going to do this again. Hopefully I can make it weekly, which I don't see why not. Maybe every Sunday. Does anyone have a preference on when to do live streams? Should I do like a Wednesday evening after work, let's say 8 p.m. Eastern, which would be 5 p.m. for those on the West Coast? Or is a Saturday or Sunday evening better? And Nicole, yeah, I freelance. I've been freelancing for over a year, and I recommend building WordPress or Squarespace for clients depending on their needs. So for my clients who don't want a developer after I build it, I will do it with Squarespace because I believe it's more intuitive. I do want to try Webflow one day. Oh, I love Stack Overflow. And I found out there is a UX Exchange. I believe it's UX Exchange. And it's pretty much like Stack Overflow for UI and UX designers. Yeah, Stack Overflow is required for learning, Chris. It's so true. You have to learn how to Google stuff and ask, like, how to, you know, the verbiage that you need to ask a question. I had a MySpace page too. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm behind. I can start a live stream and practice understanding about this. Okay, as long as you guys are patient with me. Sunday so I can skip church again, Patrick. What does that say? Sunday and Monday. Okay, Mondays are the worst days for me. I don't get home until about 11 p.m. on Mondays. I have so much extracurricular fun things. Sunday sounds good. Chris says go to church. Patrick. Okay, so Sunday, says someone else. Alma Onyx. Thanks for voting. Succinct says Sunday. Okay, it's official, Sunday. And that's easy. You know, it's different to record a video and edit it, and live stream I can just talk to you guys. I'll try to come up with some topics, but I don't mind just chit-chatting too. This is cool. Okay. MySpace got you started with HTML succinct. That's so cool. Okay, guys, I'm wrapping it up. So start saying your goodbyes. It was a lot of fun talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and skip church. But that was not me saying that you need to skip church to watch this, but I am definitely flattered. I'm going to get some dinar, get some dinner. Awesome. Yay, more people are saying yes to Sunday. Yes. This is great. Bye, everyone. Bye, Julian. Bye, Jason. Nice talking to you. Awesome, Hugh to Deb. Thanks for also voting. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye, everyone. Bye, Chris. Bye, Patrick. Bye, Succinct. Bye, Alma Onyx. Thank you. Take care, guys. Have a fantastic week. Bye, Ian. Bye, guys. I'm going to figure out how to close out now. Okay. I'm stopping it now. See ya.